Calling out all my nerds, freaks, and geeks. It's mob time.
Don't tune in cause it's showtime. Go ahead and call the gang up for the one time. Rap, Phoop, Ryun, got them on the line. And my life's still great, I'm doing just fine. Hands up.
What's up, y'all, and welcome to the Blerd Mob, your hub for all things black and nerdy. I am your host, Phoop. If you're listening to this on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and any other streaming service, make sure you hit that follow button so you can get updates from the mob. And if you're watching this on YouTube, glad you're here. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, like, and comment. Today, we are here to do a recap on the fall 2024 anime season. If you guys remember a while back, we did our fall 2024 anime recommendations. So now we're just doing a follow-up, letting you guys know how we felt about these the anime that we watched, and wrapping that up with a bow. And then make sure you check out our winter 2025 recommendation videos for what anime we're watching for January 2025 to March 2025. So, getting into it, I know we our recommendations list included DanDaDan Season 1, Tower of God, Fairy Tail 100 Years Quest. Ron was watching Bleach, Blue Exorcist. I think I also mentioned Uzumaki on my recommendation list. And then we did mention Shangri-La Frontier. We haven't got there yet, but we definitely are going to get caught up with the second core starting, and the mob review. We're definitely going to do a mob review for that. So let's just start at the top and work our way down. Let's start with DanDaDan Season 1. So how did you feel about that, Ron?
So I'm gonna be honest. I enjoyed it. It was hyped up, and it's rare. It's more recurring now that a hyped up series actually fulfills its commitments. I felt like it was fun. I felt like it was very intriguing. I didn't fall in love with it with, say, another hyped up series that did that, Chainsaw Man or Free Run. Like, I didn't fall in love with it, but it was very entertaining. It kept my eye. The little mix of sci-fi plus fantasy. The characters are a little bit different. The way they play with, like, high school relationships is pretty solid, and I enjoyed it. I will definitely watch the next season.
I enjoyed it. I think, for me, I thought it was solid. I won't say that I was disappointed by the hype. Like, the hype was there, and then I watched it, and I wasn't, like, disappointed. I think I agree with you when you said it wasn't like Chainsaw Man. Like, it hyped it up, and then, like, it, like, exceeded expectations. Like, oh, y'all know what y'all talking about.
Exactly.
But it definitely didn't disappoint. The animation, I like the colors of it. I think that was my thing about the animation and how they played around with, like, different elements and things like that. I don't know how excited I am looking forward to season 2.
Okay.
It definitely caught my interest, but this wasn't like, for me, this wasn't like a slam dunk for me. Like, I watched it. I watched it weekly, but this wasn't like I guess it didn't fully grab me. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Like, there's nobody in that series that I really, like, latched onto or attached to character-wise. It was an entertaining watch. It was something to look forward to every week, but I just don't think it fully, like, solidified me into, like, the fandom of DanDaDan.
Yeah, like, I feel like we were on the same wavelength with this one, because, like, even looking at y'all follow us on Instagram and check out our score sheets from mob reviews. You and I are both at like 79%, and I was like, oh, we seeing eye to eye on this, because like, it was really good, but I didn't cling to anyone. Like, I remember Denji and Makima and everybody from Chainsaw Man.
And all of them.
Yeah, I think I rewatched that season right after it ended, and DanDaDan, albeit good, it didn't like immediately like jump into my top 10.
I would agree with that. I think my thing for season 2 is that if I show up on day 1, I'm here on day 1, but this actually might be a series that I'll just, like, binge watch when it's over.
That's fair.
Like, I tuned in every week because this was a highly anticipated anime. for fall 2024.
And everybody's talking about it on social
everybody was
media.
talking about it. And the concept itself is unique, like what Ryan just said, like mixing the sci-fi and the like the ghost, the supernatural, the sci-fi with the supernatural situation. Like it's a unique concept. But I just don't think it grabbed me enough to like I'm fucking with this shit heavy.
Right. I'll give you that. I would agree. Because like the characters, like Okun, Okaroon, and everybody, like very fun characters. I see that everybody clings to old girl's grandma. I see the cosplays on social media and everything else, but I'm like, maybe season 2, season 3, maybe I didn't see something that the manga readers read, but I'm like, it's given a typical shonen. It steps out and does some unique things. The sci-fi element is always interesting. I'm more of a fantasy nerd, but it didn't just make me go, I'm finna rewatch this immediately because I loved it so much. And I do that for animes I love.
Exactly. So I don't know if we just have to wait more for what's come next in DanDaDan, but it was solid. I'm sticking with my mob review score. It was solid. It's not a bad watch. I think it might be a bit more enjoyable now that you can sit down and binge watch it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Some shows do have that effect that binging it has a different experience than weekly.
Yeah, and it's also not something like, funny enough, I kind of want to say it's an easy recommendation, but those first 2 episodes might make you go, eh. Like if you like crude humor and everything else like that, it's probably a good recommendation, but it's not as easy as other anime that I would recommend to people.
You said it's not as easy to get into?
Not as easy to recommend. Like if I was recommending anime to somebody, this ain't an easy rec either.
I definitely agree. And I'm not mad at anybody who makes the argument of why they're not watching DanDaDan. Like I cannot argue against that. I can't argue against that at all.
Exactly.
At all. If you say you tapped out on DanDaDan after episode 1, I cannot get mad, and I 100% I cannot argue against that.
Similar to why I can't get mad when people don't want to watch Mushoku Tensei. I feel like they miss out, but I can't get mad. It's one of my favorites, but I can definitely see how some stuff can be triggering, cringy, or just crude in general. And it's like DanDaDan does fall into that category ever so slightly.
Yeah, and even to argue with the fact that it does not play into the plot at all.
Yeah, or at least notch it. Maybe, I don't know.
I don't think it ever will. I don't think it ever will. I think some of those jokes and some of those scenes, I don't think it will play. I honestly feel like some of the episodes could have went without it.
Yeah, like I'll always reference back to Berserk, but Berserk is one of those things that goes past the envelope. Forget pushing the envelope; it threw it in fire, and it does it in like the first 5 pages. Like the first 5 pages let you know this is dark, this is triggering. You're going to watch this. You're going to read this manga, and you're going to see a lot of stuff that might make some people cry. But that's throughout the entire manga. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't end there. It's also on page 20 and 150 and so on and so forth. DanDaDan just seems like it was just being crude throughout, which I'm not mad at, but it definitely could be tasteless to some people.
Yeah. So we'll see. We might have a different tone. Might have a different tone come season 2, but I don't know. I'm gonna sleep on it. I'm gonna sleep on it for a couple more days if I'm gonna participate in real time with DanDaDan season 2. You might have to catch me on the back end with that one.
And they still introducing characters. We got the pink haired girl. She got her powers. We see the trend for
what's the new guy that they introduced? Because he's supposed to get some powers. I forgot his name.
Yeah,
they showed the manga panel because he's supposed to be getting something.
Yeah, so it's like all of that's coming up. We seeing the like trio. Well, it's not a trio, but we're seeing the group form and what's going to be our power team against all these aliens and spirits and stuff. So maybe season 2, season 3 is really going to like get into the meat and potatoes of things.
Yeah,
but I'm gonna watch it.
I'm gonna see what they say on the socials.
Mm-hmm. So they got on X, formerly Twitter.
But let's move into Tower of God season 2. So me and Ron kind of pre-ranted on this already. So you guys are gonna get the diet Dr. Pepper version of of our opinions
The
on Tower
Splenda
God
version,
season. You're gonna get the
Dr. Pepper
Splenda version
Zero.
of what we discussed, but I gave, if you saw my mob review for Tower of God season 2, I gave it basically 7s across the board, which it was solid. It was definitely not as good as season 1. My biggest gripe, and I told Ryan this, my biggest gripe about Tower of God season 2 is that the plot felt rushed to me. I feel like we were playing with a lot of elements in this season that weren't fleshed out, weren't explained well, and then they just kept pushing to the next thing. And to me, especially when we got to the workshop battle stuff, it felt overly complicated to understand what was going on. And at the same time, they were still introducing new players and new knowledge to the plot on top of the stuff that we're still trying to keep up with from learning from the first half of the season. And then we get to the end, and some of the stuff that they did just felt very predictable to me. Like the shit that they got themselves into, I couldn't like feel like, oh, this is some shit that they can't get out of, or even feel the heat of like what's happening, because 2 seconds later, Kun or somebody else has a solution to the exact problem that just happened.
Or Wagum, whatever, Wangman or whatever, gets stabbed in the heart, and it's like,
Yeah.
I don't think he's passed away. He's finna get up, because we don't know how the power system of your body works in this show for real.
Like the shock when he got stabbed in the heart, the shock value was there, but at the same time, it was predictable. Like they were dragging out that interaction between him and Bomb, and I was like, something's going to happen here. Now the shock value with him getting stabbed through the heart, okay, I didn't think it was going to be that, but it was very predictable that something was going to happen, because we're on a time crunch. Like the whole thing is we're on a time crunch to try to get Bomb to come back, to get him out of Fug, and y'all are having like this 5-minute conversation with each other. Like, where's the urgency?
Right. And it's like, excuse me, y'all, I gave this season a 61%. It was almost average. Like, I agree with Phoop. It was pacing, but it was also the fact that we just got introduced to so many characters. Someone I forgot to mention, Phoop, that little bumblebee flying monster thing.
Yeah.
Dude, we got these 2 folks who are supporting Kun, but kind of like Bomb, who was in the running suit, and Kun's second, third, fourth, fifth cousin first removed. Like, we getting introduced to all these people. Then we come see the old cast, the folks we care about, the people we fell in love with for season 1, the folks we had so much time to bond with when they was going through that training floor or whatever in season 1. And that's all we really care about. The gray-haired dude with the spear, who is he? What's his name?
I don't remember.
The girl with the glasses, what's her name?
I don't remember.
The girl who's not her little sister or daughter, but they cool, what's her name?
Don't remember.
Prince. I know the person
I know
dude's
Prince.
name is Prince.
We know his name is Prince. I can't even remember the girl with the fire powers name.
Look, she like a mini version of Yuri. Was that the first princess of Jihad we got introduced to that had the swords?
Mm-hmm.
Look, I remember Yuri's name.
I just feel like I've already told you this, but I want to say it on the podcast that I feel like Tower of God did the same thing Attack on Titan season 4 did, but they failed where Attack on Titan season 4 succeeded. So at the beginning of Attack on Titan season 4, you guys remember that we got introduced to the new cast, Gabby, Falco, and all the rest of them that were fighting in not Paradise. What's the other place where they be at? The other island?
Germany. Just
it was like whatever the other country that was exiling them folks or whatever. I can't remember at this moment, but. And everybody in the shock value was there is because, like, who are these people? Where Aaron and Mika-san and them at? But then as the episodes went on and as season 4 developed, they integrated them into the plot of what we already understood, and everything started coming together.
Yes.
Tower God season 2 coming straight out the gate with introducing a whole new set of characters, and then trying to integrate that into the story that we already knew. I don't think that integration happened well. And I couldn't find myself to care about the characters that they were introducing because of the way the pacing with the plot was going. And then when they introduced the new characters, me personally, felt a little bit frustrated that I didn't even get to see everybody who I wanted to see from season 1 because we're too busy focusing on these new people. On top of the new characters that they keep introducing, and now we're trying to figure out this Fug stuff with this other stuff with this workshop, because the workshop battle people working with Fug.
The workshop got 2 or 3 things going on in the background. We got Emily's AI.
We got the AI thing. When the AI thing popped up, I said, okay, now what really is going on?
Exactly.
Because
we don't see much of Rachel
at all. And I thought the way that season 1 ended made me feel like Rachel was going to be the biggest op in the series. And then we get to season 2 and they're talking about Fug, this organization who wants to go against the Jihad and all this other stuff. And I'm trying to keep up with that. And it was like, okay, where's Rachel?
And then in season 1 had a good amount of luster, I would say, when it came to, we give you bits and pieces of the world, the story, and the power system, but just enough to keep you interested, but not enough to where you know exactly what's going on. And that was cool because they didn't overwhelm us with characters and what's going on. We know that they're trying to beat this floor to climb the tower, and there's some stuff in the background with swords, a king, and everything else that we don't know about. We get to season 2. They barely explained the placement of the tower, how the ranks. We barely got any more details of that. We barely got more details of the princess and the explanations behind Jihad and all these different families, or why some of these families even climbing the tower. We didn't get more explanations behind Shinsu. We didn't get this villain organization. Is this basically our Akatsuki or Phantom Troop now? Okay, they're going against King of Jihad. Yeah. Then towards the end, they're foreshadowing that Wangum, the blonde hair dude with the horns, might be like the king or the king incarnate or something. Yeah. Because they showing the ring. Fug is split off and divided into so many things, and it's like, y'all have yet to actually give us any exposition or just explanations behind what's going on. We were already semi-lost in season 1, but it wasn't enough to make us upset.
I also feel like the technical advancement, I feel like there's a displacement when it comes to the tower as well, because when we first got into the tower, there were some tech advances, but it felt very rugged. Like there were still like some manual physical things that people did, and you had like the point system was the tech or whatever. But then we hop into season 2 and like everything's like super futuristic, and I was just like, okay, what? Because now we got AIs and shit. Like last season, it was like, I understand that it's like a 5-year gap and things advance, but it just, I don't know, it felt very displaced from what I saw in season 1 and what they had going on in season 2.
Yeah, like we don't have much of an explanation. Like, we don't have a time period, we don't have a setting. I had to watch YouTube videos that said there is like a community area in the tower, but we got rankers who come back, like the dude who was their teacher. All of a sudden, he's joining like a security guard system or whatever. So some of these teachers are just rankers who gave up on climbing. Okay, how do you move up in ranks? We get a little bit of saying, oh, the rank D test towards the end of this season. But I'm like, these do folks so fire, and it seems like some of the folks in the original crew are D rank now, and we just don't get no explanation to anything. I'm not saying over explain like Hunter does Nen, but don't leave me hanging. Even JJK explains some stuff.
I just feel like the structure of the tower and everything that goes in it has not been like explained very well.
Not at all.
Like, cause then at this point, it's like, if we're just living in the tower, like season 1 made it feel like you have to continuously climb the tower. Like the grind don't stop. Like everything, now that you're in the tower, everything that you do from this point is to advance up the tower. Like you gotta live, breathe, sleep, drink the tower. And then we get in the first episode, and Wangman's just chilling, eating noodles with his neighbor and in debt. And which made me think that he wasn't even in the tower.
That's what I'm saying. They don't explain that. Like is there a communal area in the tower? If so, where was Bomb? Because he's an irregular. We got introduced to another irregular with a tattoo on his back. But now we got Beta calling Bomb the original weapon. So Are y'all going to tell us that Bum was a scientific creation just sent to some random place within the tower? Like, what was that space? Where was he?
I think they explained that though when they explained what happened to Bomb, because he was a irregular first, and then when Rachel kicked him off and them folks from Fug found him at the bottom, they did testing on him, and that's when they put that weapon inside of him. That was after Rachel kicked him off that thing.
But even when you explain irregulars, that little mountain place with no light that Bum was at in season 1, was that a space? Like, and they talk about how you got to get invited to the tower. Some people force their way in. So is there an area outside the tower where everybody just lives and it's like Earth? If so, where's the explanation behind it? I know that from YouTube to a degree, but like, why haven't y'all gone into detail with that yet?
I know a lot of people are saying that the webtoon, or I think it's the webtoon, that they said is way better than what's going on in the anime. And I kind of feel like at this point that to understand what's going on, we're going to have to indulge in that, because I have literally no idea what's going on.
Exactly.
It was like I have pieces, but like I said, there was so much that they tried to push into this episode. I don't know what the push was to make Tower of God season 2 25, 26 episodes when the first season was only like 13.
Because then maybe I wouldn't be so mad that if season 2 is 12, oh, these are new characters. Oh, big reveal, this person is actually Bum, but you give us y'all theme the episodes around explanation and exposure to like concepts and stuff. Then I wouldn't be as mad.
Like, we could have got back into endorsing them like in the second half. Like, if you guys really wanted these new characters to mean something towards what's going on with the Fug situation and Bomb, that really could have just been season 2.
Yeah, because we're dealing with that bunny-haired girl and some other phases where folks are camping out.
Yeah.
I'm like, what does this have to do with anything? Now she joined Fug. Now she's not in Fug because she here for the money. Why we care about her? Why we care about her?
It goes into the theme like everybody has different reasons for being in the tower, but it made for confusing plot elements. It really did.
Mm-hmm.
It made the plot confusing. If this season 2 could have been like 12, 13 episodes, and at the end of it that's when Kun and everybody fully solidified that they know that Bomb is alive, have it. Because now the anticipation is, how is Bomb going to handle that with all of the new friends, them integrating in with the friends that he already have. We have this workshop battle coming up. How is all of that going to come to a head? And then
exactly.
But I hope that things are kicked up a notch for season 3. Like, we get back into the storytelling elements that they had in season 1, and they find a better way to space these characters. I don't know. Make a better understanding plot. I don't know, suggestions or whatever. My overall thing is I hope season 3 is better.
And what made season 2 so like some people can also just understand some lore for the Blerd mob, we discovered season 1 randomly. I forgot, like, did I start watching? Did you start watching? Was there something on Twitter we saw?
I watched it first because I saw on Twitter that people were talking about Tower of God. And I was like, I've seen a couple people talking about this. I'm going to check it out. So I sat there, watched a good amount of episodes, and I was like, oh, this is pretty good. So then we got to the end with the crazy cliffhanger of Rachel pushing Bomb off that tower. And I was like, oh, I got to watch season 2. So when they said season 2 was coming out, I was like, hell yeah, because the way they ended that shit was crazy.
Exactly.
And then I get to episode 1, and the first thing I see is not Bomb. The first episode is focused on this whole dude that has not been introduced at all. And I was like, okay. And then it immediately reminded me of Attack on Titan. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to complain too much about it, because eventually this is going to lead back into the plot line that we have for season 1. And we got there, and I don't like the way we got there.
And even though we compare to Attack on Titan also didn't do that in acts 1 of 2. Like, if you break the whole series down into, like, acts 1, 2, and 3, that was act 3. Like, hey,
Yeah,
these folks are grown. We in the final phase. Some of these folks are almost at the last couple of years of their Titan powers before they die. Blah, 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 blah. This was the final act. And
I
then they
agree.
said, these folks are relevant. They made them relevant. Tower of God, y'all do this in season 2. We only had 12 episodes in season 1, so we didn't get much with everybody. We literally got bombs separated. I would have loved if season 2 didn't even do nothing about this workshop or focus on Wagam, and we see Bomb with Fug. The first
Yeah.
couple of episodes could have been like, let us
Or
know
that,
what's going on with Fug.
or that whole ignition weapon situation.
Yeah, if it was just about that, then because like the workshop had 2 or 3 storylines going on. We got the dude who's chasing Emily that Endorsey saw. Why are you relevant? Why is he relevant? Why is he even working with the other dude? Why do folks in the tower? Season 1 was about someone can betray you, and now all of a sudden, and I'm saying this as a fairy tale fan, now we're doing power of friendship. All of a sudden, y'all become best partners and friends after talking for 2 minutes.
That's definitely how them last couple episodes went. It was definitely power friendship heavy going on. Like
Exactly.
Tower God season 1 was like friendship, but I'm side eyeing you a little bit because we all have a goal to climb up this tower. Like we all like I'm your friend, but we all have desires and needs and reasonings for being in the tower, which is why when it got to that episode where that guy had betrayed them to kill Bomb, or it was Rachel's full plan of like setting up all that motion and playing into people's
Exactly.
desires and things like that. I was like, this is crazy. And then we get
Exactly.
here and it's just like friends, my old friends meet my new friends, and we just get along great. And now our full goal as this super Avengers Endgame team is to get Bomb out of Fug.
And now we got to keep up with over 10 people. Like, at first, you could have easily just said Coon, Gator, Bomb, Endorsey, Green Lizard Girl, the dude who's good with Shinsu in the sleeping bag,
Mm-hmm.
and one other person. We could have stuck with them. Now we got, like you said, Team Avengers, and it's like we don't have enough story and explanation in single movies to explain these people. We ain't getting that right now.
And I definitely agree with you about the second difference between Attack on Titan is that we had a good amount of lore and context between what was going on
Exactly.
before we got introduced to Gabby and them. So yes, there was a shock factor, but we knew enough about what was going on overall that there wasn't anything new to learn but them.
Exactly.
Tower God felt like we were learning like 16 different things at once.
Exactly. And we still don't know much about the world. We still don't know anything about the world, the power system somewhat. But at first it was like Shinsu and bangs, bongs, or whatever they called it, and you
Mm-hmm.
got the cubes. Now we're seeing special abilities where folks teleporting, going
They got fire
invisible.
powers and stuff like that.
Exactly. Lightning. We got Killer Coon's cousin is now Killua. And I'm sitting here like,
Yeah,
okay,
basically.
so is Shinsu like Nin, where you can do whatever you want with it based on who you are as a person? Can you give us some explanation behind this? Just some, just a little bit.
I I hope season 3 is better. Um but I don't know. This felt very overly complicated.
Yeah,
And I think it easily could have not been as complicated as they made it.
yeah,
But
definitely a downhill slope from season 1.
yeah, for those who participated in the webtoon, leave a comment on how you if you did participate in the anime of how you felt about it, because this may be a case because I watched God of High School and it felt that first season felt the same way to me. Like there was so much going on in like those. I think Tower God was like maybe like 13 episodes, 10 plus for sure. Um, but if I felt like at certain point in the plot took a very significant jump to where I stopped understanding what was going on. And when I was talking to somebody, they were like, "Yeah, Tower God tried to not Tower God, God of High School tried to fit like 100 chapters of the webtoon inside of those episodes." And I was like, "Okay, why are we doing that?"
Exactly.
And this could just be another case of that.
Yeah, if y'all watched them, please let us know if there's someone who can explain Tower God. I think I watch Annie News and somebody else to help Annie Uproar or something on YouTube to help me explain some of this stuff. Like, help us out. Like, is this something worth sticking to? I think I'm gonna watch season 3. I think if a season 3 gets announced, I'm gonna watch it, but I'm not gonna be stuck on it. Like, I'm
I'm
not gonna be hyped up for it.
gonna see what they talking about, but I feel like at this point, the minute where I'm like, okay, y'all, it's gonna get cut off. It is.
Yeah,
It's gonna get cut off.
I'd only stick to it probably because I've watched it this much. I'm like, if I'm gonna hate it, I'm gonna let y'all know why I hated it.
Yeah. All right. So moving from Tower of God season 2, let's get into Fairy Tail 100 Years Quest.
We ate.
I agree. But I will say this though. Fairy Tail 100 Years Quest hasn't given me a fairy tale moment yet though. Like how the Grand Magic games had moments, or that Tartarus arc
Yeah,
had like moments. Loved it, but it didn't give me a moment. This didn't give me like, oh shit, y'all remember this? But I think with um the Celine Dragon piece of it, I think we're gonna get there. I think we're gonna get there.
yeah. Like, Grand Magic Games is objectively. If I'm talking to a fairy tale fan and I say, "What's your top 3 arcs?" I'll be very shocked if Grand
If
Magic
Grand
Games
Magic
ain't
Games
1 or
isn't in
2.
there.
It's definitely my number 1. In fact, I'll say a hot take: the Grand Magic Games is the best tournament arc in all of Battle Shonen anime. Sorry, I don't care, you Yu Hakusho fans. I'm just admitting it. I don't care, Naruto Tuning Exams fans. I'm just admitting it. But this season, it did a good amount of callbacks. We
It
see the
did.
romance. I like that we actually are seeing the Nalu, the Gravas, and the Heirs Laws, whatever y'all couples names for some
Whatever
reason.
y'all ship, whatever them ship names is, but I agree that we're starting to solidify like the relationships that they played around with like in the series. Like they're fully starting to like solidify those.
Exactly. And that's not normally done well in a lot of shonen. So as somebody who watched 200 plus episodes was in Fairy Tail,
Fairy Tail like 300 plus episodes.
300 plus episodes of OG Fairy Tail, all these manga volumes. Like, for me to have read and watched Fairy Tail, I liked it finally. I'm getting like a payoff. We're seeing these couples builds. We even got a kid on the way with Juvie and Gajil. I like that we got a little callback to the War on Fairy Tail. I forgot what they pinged it as when Laxus had everybody going against each other.
Yeah.
Even
I
Natsu
think it was
alluded.
just called. I think it was just the War on Fairy Tale War or something like
Yeah.
that.
Even Natsu acknowledged it, and I like that we did get that nice little Heirs of Laxus fight. I did enjoy that. I like that we did see a couple of fights with Alderaan. I like that we got the call back to the folks who worked under Zareth and to see what they're doing now. I like that we got some level of an explanation to, like, okay, Acnologia is the big bad, but y'all not finna tell us that Acnologia was just pointless and
Just that
worthless
was it. Like that
when
was
he
it.
was the and he's the whole big bad of Fairy Tail. I'm like that we got some explanation. Y'all ain't let that fall flat. I like that there was some continuity there to where it's like this series, 100 Years Quest, was just more Fairy Tail, and I'm not mad at it. It was consistent and more Fairy Tail. Edalos,
Yeah,
we went back to Edalos.
we did.
Like, bet.
I
You know what I mean?
I think I like it because we're not starting from with Fairy Tail 100 Years Quest. We're not starting from scratch. Like we're starting at a point in time where we've seen everybody's abilities build up
Yep.
to a point that we know y'all can handle them yourselves. But it was great to watch it, even though that you guys have advanced so far from where y'all started in episode 1, that y'all still not hitting on shit. Like
Yeah.
this shit is like this shit is crazy. Like
Y'all can still get
Ezra
that work.
and like you brought up that Ezra versus Laxus fight. Like we've seen both of them grow in power in their mindset and how they approach battles and stuff. And to see them just go toe to toe to where it basically just like tied out, crazy.
Exactly.
Seeing
We
Lucy, even though she like with her seeing Lucy's celestial magic grow to where it is, and her still having to like push her limits to fight like certain dragons and their henchmen and stuff like that. I
Mhm.
felt like it was great because it shows you that you still have to grow. Like, and there's more to this. Like, the biggest thing that I like about Fairy Tail is that everybody has a different set of magic. and there's advancements to this magic, and even though you've reached this peak, like you can still go higher. Like there's so much creativity that goes into how these people can advance their magic and stuff
Look,
like
even with
that.
Wendy and Irene, like Wendy got a
Yeah,
whole spirit in her. But I'm like, now we see how she's growing because yeah, she ain't as physically strong. It's a Natsu and got Jill and some of the other Dragon Slayers. We see how her enchantment magic, and now we got Irene helping her out. Like the way that
but
Fairy Tail did a good job at connecting all the old stuff from older seasons. I
mhm.
like that everything we've seen is still relevant and it's not going.
And I like the fact that you brought up Wendy's thing, because when they first introduced Wendy as a Dragon Slayer, but then you put her beside everybody else, and it was like, okay, what if when they advance Wendy's power set, what is that going to look like? Because everybody else be punching folks. They big, strong, punching folks, they fighting and kicking and stuff. They've already introduced that Wendy's whole thing is enchantment. So where does that advancement come from?
We sure ain't seen her do like a Wind Dragon Slayer punch yet. We
She
just
do her little moves, like she'll do her
the
Sky
wings
Dragon
claw.
War in those couple times they did it again. So this is the second time I didn't see Wendy in her Dragon Force mode, which I love.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, what's her upgrade, like her mega upgrade going to look like? And I like the fact that it was that it still stayed in tune with her Enchantress power set.
Like the fact that she can enchant airs of swords to have Dragon Slayer abilities to make her
Mm-hmm.
valuable against a dragon. Like, nice. The fact that Gray uses his Demon Slayer magic
Yeah,
as a way to basically up his ice make magic and make it stronger. Like they did a good enough callbacks and keeping the powers relevant to where it's like it doesn't seem like an ass pull for real. Like a Fairy Tail does have some of those, don't get me wrong.
yeah,
But right now in 100 Years Quest, all of this goes back to something that we've seen. And a lot of animes don't do a good job at remembering what the hell they put in there.
yeah. And it was just nice for the main cast. It was nice to see them using all of the things that they've leveled up with in the original series towards this fight. My
Mm-hmm.
complaint is that when we get to everybody else, and Mary Jane's still using that same damn demon form.
See, I'm gonna be honest. At least Fairy Tail focuses on their top five. And here's the thing: Fairy Tail always alluded, like the second we discovered Wendy, this is the crew: Natsu, Erza, Gray, Lucy, Wendy, Charlotte, and Happy. That's the
Yeah,
crew. For all of y'all who wanted Godzilla and Mira Jane and all of them, yeah, they
it's not
secondary.
happening. It's not
They're
happening.
secondary. I wish we could see more of Mira Jane. I wish. We got so much Laxus and Erza. I wish Hiromashi put Mira Jane to the side like
I
that, but
would
we
have
ain't getting it.
loved, honestly, I would have loved that Laxus versus Ezra fight to be a Mary Jane versus Ezra fight.
The fact that we always had it hinted to for the fact that they were rivals back in the day,
Yeah.
definitely.
That would
Definitely.
have been nasty, like a callback to that. And
Definitely.
Ezra saying something like, "Oh, we finna get down how we used to get down."
They could even
And
do
for
some
and
scenes where it's like mid fight, it's flashbacks to when those
we
fighting as
didn't
kids. We
even
could have
have
got
to.
all of that.
I wouldn't even care for the flashbacks. We didn't even have to do all that, because we know, coming off the Tartarus arc, we know that Mira Jane has like 80 demon forms in her back pocket, and we already know that Ezra has all these suits in that space.
Exactly.
So it would have been very interesting to see like what forms and armor and stuff that they use. Like it, that would have went crazy.
Yeah.
That would
And
have
we
went crazy.
and it's a missed opportunity because we've seen Laxus fight a lot. At the end of the day, we've seen Laxus fight quite a bit. Like we know what he's about. We know he's basically the Thunder Dragon. Like it kind of was what it was. It was a hype fight. Don't get me wrong, but it's
Mm-hmm.
like Mira Jane going all out would have
Mary
been
Jane going
lovely.
all out, a brainwashed Mary Jane going against Ezra would have been nuts.
And let her take one of her demon forms from Tartarus. I think we did see one of them. The book one. Did we see that one or something?
We saw one of them in that final fairy tale arc where she pulled out one of them and didn't even get could use it for real. See, we not finna do that because now I'm finna go on another rant because she pulled up in that demon suit and they got her. Like she stood there for maybe like 5 seconds and she was done. But overall, I enjoyed Fairy Tail 100 Years Quest. I did say something that they were going to continue with the series. I'm just ready for them to give me a moment. Like this had some good highlights, but I need a moment. I need something that 2 or 3 years from now, I'm gonna call Ron and be like, "You remember that scene in Fairy Tail where so and so did that during 100 Years Quest?" I need that. I need a moment.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that. I feel like this was more of Fairy Tail, but we do need that. This is 100 Years Quest. It's not completely independent, but this is essentially a new series. What is going to be that 100 Years Quest scene that makes us go, "You seen this? This is why you should watch it."
I think it's gonna be that Celine Dragon because she got the smoke form. She had the smoke form. I think it's gonna come from that.
And let's get into that. I want to do that a little bit. The dragon hunting storyline and how that is the 100 Years Quest. I do appreciate that. They didn't, like I said earlier, they didn't make Acnologia and Zareth necessarily irrelevant. I like how they're tying it to where the fire dragon is Natsu's basically half brother-in-law because he's Iganil's real son. I like that Celine is like, "Oh, I'm strong. I faked it for y'all and I killed this guild's leader." And she's talking about how the world is now for humans and no longer dragons. I thought that was a great ending. I thought it was very interesting that they went about that.
Yeah, I like that it's just not dragon slaying. That every dragon the situation becomes more complex. I think
Exactly.
Necrophobia was very straightforward, and then we get the Alderaan. Like they went to Alderaan with the mindset that, oh, these dragons might not be bad after all; they're just misunderstood. And then you get the Alderaan, and it's like, no,
this dude got
that's
like a
not the
hive
case.
mind on
And
his
then
freaking back.
and then after you get the Alderaan, you get with Celine, and like Celine is like nuts. So it's just like every situation. Like this is not your regular dragon hunting situation. And what's crazy about it is that the way that Gildarts explained, like this is way past what Gildarts had experienced on that quest. Like he made Mechophobia seem like this was going to be some like that was the like this is what you should anticipate. And then they got there and then it was like you didn't even make it past level 1, big dog.
Because he fought Mechophobia when he had his power still, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, you didn't even get it past level 1. Like you came back with your insides missing. And that was level 1.
Exactly. And it's a lot. It shows how Natsu and them are growing for magic. The story is nice. If you're a Fairy Tail fan, you'll love this. If you're not a Fairy Tail fan and you watched it and you thought it was a One Piece clone, I'm gonna just be honest. This ain't gonna bring you over to the dark side.
No, I think for this you already have to be invested in the Fairy Tail franchise to fully enjoy 100 Years Quest. Like you can't start with this.
Yeah, this is a legitimate sequel. This is a sequel where you gotta watch what came before.
Yeah.
And you gotta like it, or you're not gonna like this.
Like you have to be invested in Fairy Tail to enjoy this. But I know you had a couple other anime that you watched, Ron, that I didn't participate in. You want to give any thoughts on those?
I'm Star Blue Exorcist. We got the Beyond the Snow arc, which just ended. And we going into the new saga called Blue Knight Remembrance. I remember I was trying to figure that out for you earlier, Food, for how to explain it. Blue Exorcist, I've been loving it. Season 3 came out, and that was the Shinami Illuminati arc. And I was like, we're getting into some stuff. We seeing these organizations that are your Phantom Troop, Akatsuki-esque organizations, but then you realize in this current saga, not to make too many spoilers, that the good organization plays a part in how this was created. Almost, you got to compare it to the popular animes, almost like how Danzo had some relationships with Orochimaru, who had relationships with the Akatsuki. So now the storyline is getting a little bit more complex. Who's good is now good versus bad is no longer just black and white. It's a lot of gray areas with a lot of characters they get in more into the lore of how like these demons then came and gods have come into like Earth land, or I forgot what they call it, have come into Earth, and how they built relationships, and they even taught the Exorcist how to fight demons. Like, they're doing a lot of explanation. We're seeing the characters grow. We're starting to see the more advanced high level characters, your Hashira level people now get into the field, and you're starting to see that power difference between the regular characters. And this previous arc, Beyond the Snow, one character got a big focus. I forgot her name. I love her though. The pink Shura. We got to see more of Shura's background, which was very lovely. The main character, Ren, and his brother Yukio, we seeing some stuff with Yukio and how he's kind of like on the going off the deep end, and he's betraying everybody. Like, it's just been fire. It's been really lovely. I still believe to this day, I got an old tweet somewhere. Blue Exorcist and Seven Deadly Sins were shonens that would be regarded at least as high as Fairy Tail and other shonens if they were treated properly. If they got good animation and the seasons actually followed the actual manga, the actual anime stayed true to the manga, they would be regarded just like some of these other battle shonens you see behind me. It just didn't happen. But strong recommendation for Blue Exorcist. I've also been watching Bleach 1000 Year Blood War Season 3 and Phoop. Oof. Absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Tite Kubo, hard-working mangaka. He went back with the producers of this anime and said, you know what, when I was rushed to make this manga, when Shonen Jump and everybody was down my freaking throat, I missed some stuff. Some stuff wasn't shown, and I had to breeze through some things. You can tell with the stuff he added to this anime, it boosts the story from here to like all the way up here. The character backgrounds, their history, some of these fights, the enemies. We are seeing so much. Even Uri, there's so many scenes of Uri that was just never there in the manga. And I read the manga. And I'm like, it's absolutely beautiful. My favorite character, Shunsui Kyorako, we seeing more of him. A lot more characters are just relevant now. The animation is absolutely flawless. Flawlessly beautiful. And the music. Shiro Saigusu, I got Thousand Year Blood War's whole soundtrack in one of my playlists now. Everything about Bleach 1000 Year Blood War is beautiful. If you're not a Bleach fan, but you've watched all of Bleach before 1000 Year Blood War, like just because it's in the big three, give 1000 Year Blood War a chance. It might turn your head around and make you go, oh, I see why y'all love this as much as One Piece and Naruto, and I see why the manga was keeping up with them to where it's a big three franchise. Absolutely beautiful.
Okay.
But that's all I got for you, Phoop. Everything else, I'm catching up with the stuff that came out in fall 2024 / early winter 2025. I'm started back watching Gale Online. I'm in the first 3 episodes of the new season. Real fun, real lighthearted. For Sword Art Online fans who didn't want to watch Gale Online, go back and watch it. Tell me what you think, and then watch season 2. Today, I think I'm gonna start Shangri-La Frontiers season 2. And I think I'm gonna start Rurouni Kenshin season 2 probably tomorrow, and just be watching those concurrently, like 3 episodes each type thing, and go from there.
Okay. Yeah. I gotta get started on Shangri-La. Uzumaki. That trailer is basically the first episode. And I think I said that when we were first talking about this,
You
but
did.
my mob review is on our Instagram, on our social media pages. Make sure you check us out. But I was the way that it went, I was expecting a bit more out of it. I know there were some issues with like the animation team and how it was being distributed on Adult Swim, but it was weird. It did have the weird creepy factor, so I'm definitely gonna give it that. I was definitely weirded out like every episode, but I didn't leave that anime the way I thought I was gonna be. Like, as far as like this being like my first horror anime, and maybe this shouldn't have been my first horror anime. Maybe
Fair.
that's what it is. But that's all
What
I
did
got.
what did the manga readers say about it? Like, when you go back and see how they talked reflecting on the anime, do they feel like it was a good adaptation? Do they feel like those? What's the mangaka's
I honestly
name?
didn't see a lot of people talking about it. Like, after when, and I think I said this on one of our episodes too, is that when those episodes were dropping, the most that I was seeing was the complaints about the animation and the issues surrounding the development of the anime. But I didn't see a lot of people like talking about it as far
So
as
it's
like
probably not
comparing
that
it
it
to the
was bad,
manga.
it just wasn't to your taste, maybe?
Could have been that.
Okay.
Or maybe, I don't know, maybe if I find some time, if I could go back and read the manga, then maybe there was like the translation just didn't happen.
I will say that because it's like manga, especially if it's like a horror, there is a different mood that's being set when you're reading something, and you might have like some music in the background. But when you're watching it live in animation, every angles, music, all of that plays such a big part. And they probably didn't translate it well because Uzumaki is beloved. I forgot that mangaka's name, but he has other books.
Junji Ito.
Junji Ito, he's beloved in the manga community.
It could just be the translation from the manga to the anime and the issues that was happening around it, and whatever the decision was to make this a 4-part series, maybe it needed more episodes based on what happened in the manga versus what they did.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I feel like maybe there may have been something with the translation that ended it the way it did.
Yeah, that sucks though. I wish it was enjoyable for you because it's like it's always just kind of weird like when something that's like, oh, this is good. Oh, like no, like people are really saying it's good and gets adapted and it's falls flat.
Yeah. It definitely weirded me out though. Definitely was creepy. But
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think it hit the nail with the hammer with me.
Yeah. Okay.
But you got anything else?
I don't know if y'all watched it. If y'all watched this first, go back and watch our recommendations video for winter 2025. We did talk about some anime up in there because this season is looking pretty good. It's looking pretty good.
Yeah. So this is our fall 2024 anime recap video. So one, thanks Ron for joining me on another episode of the podcast. 2, shout out to everybody who's been checking us out, whether this is your first time or 50th time watching the Blerd Mob podcast. It is greatly appreciated. To stay in the know for when we drop another recap video, mob review, recommendations, regular episode, whatever the case may be, make sure you subscribe to the channel and also like this video and leave a comment about how you felt about the fall 2024 anime season, and if there's anything that we miss that you want us to catch up on, let us know and we'll spin the block. And make sure to follow us on our social media platforms. A lot of our mob reviews go to our social media page. Sometimes we don't make it to do a full recording, so make sure you follow us on Instagram at the Blerd Mob Pod. Follow us on Twitter at the Blerd Mob, and you can find us on Facebook and TikTok while it is still here at the Blerd Mob Podcast. With all that being said, this is the mob checking out. Peace. It's been crazy. This is basically Family Guy for DC.
That's so
DC
funny.
fans.
Yeah.
This is like Family Guy, American Dad content for DC fans.
Okay, well, I might have to start back up on her.
But